We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic drew their plans against us.
Prior to your abduction, did you believe in UFOs or any sort of alien life form?
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
Do you reach out to NOAA and connect with them, or do they, like, how does NOAA get connected with your specific balloons?
Well, they have known about us. I'm not sure how they found out about us, but
okay.
There are more people than just me, in the hobby, and there's other people that have actually had contact with them, and there's been this arrangement or this helping hand, to each other. So, yeah, we're helping them, and again, the tracking of our balloons is on public websites. And if you look at my page, you'll see the public websites there where you can see where these balloons, and there may be at any given time, 50 or 60 of these ham radio pico balloons floating around the world. And that doesn't even take into account weather balloons. There are 900 locations that launch 2 times a day weather balloons. So there's 1,800 weather balloons put in the air every day.
Whoa!
Now I'm talking a lot of balloons up in the air. 1,800 weather balloons a day by the National Weather Service. We probably have 50 or 60 balloons up, And then, hey, think of this. Think of birthdays. 365 million people in the U.S.
Yes.
Everybody has a birthday. You divide that by 365 days, and there's 1 million birthdays per day.
Wow.
And I can tell you, if 10% of those are kids, they're going to let a balloon go. So 1%.
I saw it happen just the other
1%. Yeah, 1% of a million is 100,000. 10% of a million is 100,000 balloons. So there's a lot of balloons up there. Now, the Chinese balloon, that was bad. It needed to come down. They were spying. But there's so many other balloons up there that have been flying for 40 years, 50 years, over a 50-year period. And they're heading, I don't think there's been one accident caused by a balloon. It's a big place up there. And we fly. We're flying under FAA 101 exemption, meaning that the FAA has given permission for people, if you meet this criteria on your balloon, you're allowed to fly it without even contacting them. And, there's a few little things you have to do. Our payloads have to be less than 6 pounds to qualify. And our tractors weigh about 77 grams. That's less than the weight of a quarter, maybe a quarter. And in the line, the string that holds the little tracker, it has to break within 50 pounds. So, those are real simple things. Don't launch it at the end of a runway. There's things like that. So the federal government, the FAA, has and is regulating these things. Now, Congress, they're jumping through hoops there. They think they can fix this thing, and I don't think they're looking through it right now, right? And they're threatening to put all kinds of transponders and stuff on every balloon, but it can't be done. The transponder that they want to put on every balloon costs about $2,000. Plus, it's heavy. Our balloons wouldn't even lift it. So I'm not sure if Congress is going to be able to pass that or not. They need to just step back and talk to the FAA and say, FAA, do you have this under control? Have you done tests? Do you agree you got the right policy? And if so, I think Congress should not try to change or make their own laws regulating these balloons. And I tell you, a kid loses a balloon, they're not going to put a $2,000 transponder on it. And guess what? If they pass a law here in the U.S., that doesn't affect other countries. And these ham balloons are being launched in every other country. So, and they come around across the United States. So,
That's fascinating, Tom. I tell you what, I as a former CBer, I really have an appreciation for ham radio and a desire to pass the ham test. And they used to tell me that ham radio was the original internet. Back when the internet came out, the whole thing was, wow, you can communicate with anybody instantaneously on the other side of the world. And it was such a novel thing, right? Like, this had never been done before, but wait, it had been done before with ham radio.
Yeah. I've seen them say it was the first social network, before everything else came out. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And also, as an avid doomsday prepper, I have to admit that I'm fascinated by the potential for ham radio to come into service for the population should some sort of cataclysmic or emergency situation arise.
Yeah. I mentioned some of the different modes that we can run, like ham TV, sideband, Morse code, digital. I failed to mention a couple others. We can do things like EME, which is Earth, Moon, Earth. We can bounce the signal off the moon and talk to people through that way. We can talk through satellites. We have a number of ham radio satellites that's circling the Earth right now. And even we have radio gear on the International Space Station, where many of the astronauts very quickly get their technician license so they can operate that radio. And we talk to the astronauts in the space station when they go over. A good friend of mine is Colonel Doug Wheelock. He's an astronaut. He has a high-ranking position in NASA now. A couple of years ago, he was the commander of the space station, and I talked to him 30 times 1 month as they went over, and I even talked to him 3 times driving home in my truck. I was actually able to talk to the space station from my truck. Now, when they make a pass over, that's only up there for about 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, but it's still, there's so many different aspects of ham radio.
That's incredible. Just mind-boggling. I had no idea that you could communicate with the space station. Just amazing. Tom, we have a listener question for you from listener George Winters, a.k.a. Alabama George. He's a top fan of the show. You were talking about weather balloons, and he wants to know, I think this is a great question. Considering we have so much advanced radar now, Doppler 9000, etc., he wants to know, why does NOAA still use weather balloons? What data do they gather from those?
Well, I'm not a meteorologist, so I'm not sure I can give you a scientific answer to that. I do think there are things that the weather balloons can probably pick up and record that maybe radar won't be able to pick up. It's a big sky up there, and the radar today. I think the reason our balloons hadn't been seen in the past, particularly, is because the radar was kind of closed, kind of narrow. And after they saw the big balloon, they said, let's see what else is up there. And they opened the aperture up on the radar, and then they started seeing everything like a bird, which is too much to look at. Let me talk a little about the weather part of this.
Thanks. Like, share, follow, comment, subscribe, support. What's your hot take on Travis Taylor?
I've got an exclusive for you guys if you want it about the Alaska.
We do.
Okay.
More at BigfootUFO.com.
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.